in paper 21. I'm just going to go through the solutions and worked answers for you. So question 1, pretty simple. At noon, the temperature was 4. At midnight, the temperature was minus 5.5. Work out the difference in temperature between noon and night. So that's all just basically 4 minus 5.5, 9.5. Easy. Question 2, use your calculator, nice and simple, to work out this. So basically just type this all into your calculator and you'll get the answer. Question 3, write this in standard form. So for standard form, we need it to be in 1 decimal place. So we can see that to get it that decimal place there, we need to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decimal places. Therefore, it's 2.7 times 10 to the power of 5. Expand and simplify. Okay, so first of all, we'll do is expand. So what I've done here is x times this bracket, which turns into 2x squared plus 3x plus 5x. And then this bracket here, we times it by 5, which turns to 5x minus 35. Don't forget these minuses, plus and a minus times together makes a minus. Then we're going to simplify that as the question is asked. So we're just going to add these together. That's as much as we can simplify, which brings us to the answer 2x squared plus 8x minus 35. Okay, question 5. Paul and Sammy are taking part in a race. The probability that Paul wins is 9 over 35. The probability Sammy wins is 26%. So what I did is I typed in 9 over 5 into my calculator. I pressed the button to change it into a decimal. Therefore, I can see what it would be as a percentage, because a decimal, if you just times it by 100, becomes the percentage. So the percentage that Paul will win is 25.7. So who's more likely to win the race? Well, Sammy is, because he has 0.3% more chance of winning, so he's more likely than Paul to win. Question number 6. Rice is sold in 75-gram packs and 120-gram packs. The masses of both packs are given correct to the nearest gram. Calculate the lower bound for the difference in mass. So what we want to do here is, because we want the lower band, we're going to do the lower band of the highest number, so the lowest band of 120, which is 19.5, minus the higher bound of the lowest number, which is 75. The reason we're doing this because that's lowest for the total difference in mass. If we'd done the lower band minus the lower band, that wouldn't be the absolute minimum. That would be a little bit higher than this one, if that makes sense. So all we do is 119.5 minus 5, and that gives us the answer of 44. Next question. Simplify this. Okay. So, as we have a minus here, we can say that this actually, when it's written out, is 6u over w to the power of 3. Because it's a minus, it goes underneath, it's divided. So we're going to write that out like that. And then since we've done that, we'll write out the other term in the same format so that we can times them together. So because this is positive, that's just over 1 as it is. So then we're going to times these out together. So first of all, 6 times 4 is 24. U times u is u squared. And there's no w on this side, so this is simply w to the power of 6 times 1, which is w to the power of 6. Underneath our denominators, well, we've only got 1. We've got w to the power of 3 times 1, which is w to the power of 3. Where this is actually w, if we think about writing it out again like this, it is actually 24u to the power of 2, w to the power of 6, w to the power of minus 3. Therefore, what we're going to do is simply minus those away, and that just gives us w to the power of 3, and that is our answer. All right. Question number 8. The point A has coordinates -4, 6, and B coordinates 7, -2. Calculate the length of AB. So the easiest way to do this is draw out a triangle. So this is point A, -4, 6. This is point B, 7 to the -2. And so this is the line A we want to find. So what I've done is I'm going to use Pythagoras' equation, which you should know, a squared equals b squared plus c squared, to find the length of this. So to do that, we need to find b and c. So to do that, all we do is find the difference between -4 and 7, first of all, which is 11. So that's one side. And then we're going to find the difference between 6 and -2, which is 8. So then all we do is sum in b and c into the equation. A squared plus 11 squared equals a squared. Do that on your calculator. Then we want to get a to be the subject so that we can find out the length. And so we square root everything on the other side, which gives us 13.601, which we're just going to put as 13.6. Okay, question number 9. Without using a calculator, work out this. Show all your working, given your answer as a fraction in its lowest term. Okay, so here's our little equation. So you might remember, first of all, easiest way to do is we need to make this into a fraction. So we're going to make it a top-heavy fraction by timesing 1 by the lowest by the denominator, which becomes 5, and then we add it to the top, which becomes 9. So that's, first of all, first step, make that a top-heavy fraction, 9/5, divided by 3/7. Next up, you might remember from back in the day when you learnt to do fractions, what we do is to divide, we can actually just swap this round, turn it over, and then times them. So that's what I've done. I've changed 3/7 to 7/3, and I'm going to times them together. Just done that on my calculator. It's come up with 63/15. I can see that 3 goes into both of these numbers. So to get it into its lowest term, I'm going to divide both of the numbers by 3 to get 21/5. And that is the final answer. All right, question number 10. Right, a tram leaves a station and accelerates for 2 minutes. It then reaches a speed of 12 meters per second, continues at this speed for 1 minute here, and then it decelerates down for 3 minutes. Calculate the distance in meters between the two stations. So first of all, I just want to draw your attention to this 2 minutes, okay? They've made this bold for a reason. So meters per second is the other piece of information. So that means that when we're going to be working out the distance, we're going to have to change time into seconds, just so that we're on the same wavelength and we're both working in the same units. So they often in these papers do put things in bold for a reason, so just look out for that in the future. So what we're going to do is, first of all, if you didn't know already, the area under the graph on these speed time graphs is the distance, okay? So all we need to do here to find the distance between the two stations is find the area beneath the graph. So, like I said, we're going to use time as seconds. So there's 60 seconds in a minute. So what we're going to do here is first find the area of this triangle. All we do is we're going to do half times 120 seconds, which is 2 times 60, because it's 2 minutes times 60 seconds. That's how we got that. And we're going to times that by 12, which is the speed. So basically all we're doing is finding the square and then timesing it by half. That gives us the area of that triangle. 60 times 12, well, this is 1 minute, so that's 60 seconds. And we're timesing by 12, and that's just this rectangle here. And finally, same again as the beginning triangle. Third and final triangle area we're going to find is a half times 180, because it's 3 minutes, so 3 times 60 seconds, times 12, again, meters per second is the speed, times 12. Add that all together, so we're adding each of the triangle, the rectangle, and the other triangle, adding all of that area up, and that gives us this number here, and that is the number of meters between the two stations. Number 11. Okay, sequences. Okay, find the nth term of each sequence. So, right, first of all, what I've just done is I put the terms at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then below, what I've done is I've put the gap in between each term. So 4 to 8 plus 4, 8 to 12 plus 4, 12 to 16 also plus 4. And you can see that is also plus 4 as well. So all we know that is n times 4. So the nth term is just 4n. Just check that. So let's say our n is 5. Okay, well, 5 times 4 is 20. Yep, that's right. Correct, 4n. The next one's a little bit more tricky. This is what we call a quadratic sequence. So there's 2 levels to this. So again, I've just written my terms at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 11 to 9 plus 9. 20 to 35 plus 15. Okay, they're not the same, so that's why we know it's a quadratic sequence. 35 to 56 plus 21, and so on. But what we can see is in between these is actually plus 6, plus 6, plus 6. So when we get 2 levels, we know that we are dealing with a quadratic sequence, therefore n squared is going to be in the nth term somewhere. So now we know that, what we do is we're going to change these terms to n squared. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is now 4, 3 squared is now 9, 16, 25. There are new n's. So now we're going to treat this like we did similarly here. So we're going to think, okay, this is a little bit of trial and error, but 25, going to start high. So there's a lot of options down the bottom. So if we start high, there's less options and it's a little bit easier to solve. So what we want to know is, how does our 5th term, 25, which is now what it is, how is that 83? Well, okay, let's see. To get from 25 to 83, we could do 3 times 25, which is 75. And then to get to 83, we've got to plus 8 onto that. So if this is the case, then our nth term will be 3n squared plus 8. Is that right? Well, let's check. Let's go back to our n squared term. So 1 squared is 1, times 3 is 3, plus 8 is 11. Okay, that works for 1, and so on. Check it, make sure it works, and there you go, have the answer. Okay, number 12. P is inversely proportional to the square of q plus 4. Okay, so the square of q plus 4 is just q plus 4 squared. Inversely proportional. When we see this, think of this as your equation. Okay, y equals k over x. That is, it is inversely proportional. So find the value of p when q is minus 2. All right, so first of all, we need to find k. We need to find k. So what we're going to do is use this information they've given us here to find k. Here's our little equation. This is x. So, and we're going to use p as y and q as x. So here's x, here's p equals k over x. So we know that when p is 2, q is 2. So all we're going to do here is substitute those in. There we go, 2 equals k over 6 squared, and k equals 72. Perfect. Now what we do is we find the value of p when q is minus 2. So p equals 72 over q plus 4 squared. We know that q is 2, so it's minus 2 plus 4 squared, which is 4. So p equals 72 over 4, which is 18. Okay, number 13. A car travels distance of 1,280 meters in bold at an average speed of 64 kilometers per hour. Okay, immediately, bells ringing, 2 different units. Interesting. Right. Calculate the time it takes for the car to travel this distance. Okay. Give your answer in seconds. Okay. Right. So we're in meters, kilometers, hours, and seconds. This is a bit of an issue for us. So first of all, speed equals distance over time. That's your equation for this. First of all, I'm going to change these kilometers into meters. So all we do there is times it by 1,000 because there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer. So that's 64,000 meters. Just to remember, there are 60 seconds in a minute. There are 60 minutes in an hour. That's going to become relevant in a second. So speed, 64,000 meters per hour. This is so far, equals distance 128 over time, which is what we're trying to find. So t equals, I've just moved that around, t equals this 1,280 over 64,000. T equals 0.02 hours. Okay, but we want to change this to seconds. To do that, we know there are 60 minutes in an hour and there are 60 seconds in a minute. So we do 60 times 60, and then that's 3,600. We're going to times that by hours to change it into seconds, and that comes to 72 seconds. And that's the answer. All right, question number 14. PQRS is a quadrilateral, and M is the midpoint of PS. Show that PS equals 2B. So PS. Alrighty, so we know that PQ is A as a vector. We know that QR is B as a vector. We know that SQ, that's this direction, is A minus B, a minus 2B. And there are 3 bits of info. So to show that PS is 2B, well, okay, let's see. These are the 2 sides we know. So we're going to use A, and we're going to use this line here. So we're going in this direction. So it's PQ, which is A, plus QS, which is the negative version of SQ. So negative A minus 2B. All right, so we just take that over here. That means that A minus A, and then because we're changing by a minus, that becomes a plus. B is PS, so PS equals 2B, because these just cancel each other out. Question number B, write down the mathematical name for the quadrilateral PQRM. PQRM, well, hopefully you should know this. It's a parallelogram. PM is equal and parallel to QR. So if we just go back up a little bit, we can see PM is equal to QR. There we go. Okay, number 15. Write down 3 inequalities which define the shaded region. Alrighty, so the unshaded region, sorry. So here's our unshaded region. There's 3 lines. So what we're going to do is find the equations for each 3 line. So this dotted line is a straight line. It's going straight through 8 on the y-axis, which means y equals 8. That is that. The shaded region is less than 8. Everything is underneath that line. Therefore, we can say the first inequality is y is less than 8. Next up, this line here. Okay, so let's just remember y equals mx plus c is the equations for lines. So what we need to find out is the y intersect, 6, and the gradient. Okay, so we can see that it's going that way. So it's going to be a negative gradient. And we can see that it goes down 1, across 1. Down 1, across 1. Therefore, the gradient is minus 1. So it's just minus x. Y equals 6 minus x. So here we go. This line, the shaded region is to the right of that line, which means it's bigger. And because it's a straight line and it's not dotted, it must be equal as well. So it's bigger than or equal to 6 minus x. That's our second inequality. Finally, this line here, same again, y-intercept is 2, and we can see that the line is going in this direction, so it's going to be a positive gradient, and again it's going across one, up one, across one, up one, gradient is 1, so this is an y equals x plus 2. So we can see that because the unshaded region is on the left of this line, it must mean that it is less than or equal to x plus 2. So that's our final one. Y is less than x plus 2. Okay. 16. George invests $5,000 for 14 years at a rate of 2% per year compound interest. Calculate the interest he receives. Give your answer correct to the nearest dollar. Okay, so the interest as a percentage is, as a decimal is 0.02. So the total with interest is 100% plus 0.02, which is 102%. So as a decimal, this is 1.02 each year. So we've got the total plus the interest. This is going on for 14 years. So we put it to the power of 14 rather than timesing that out by 14 times. So type that into your calculator, comes back with 6,597. Now they want us just to give them the interest. So the interest is simply this minus the original investment of 5,000, which is 1,597.33, but because they want it to the nearest dollar, we're simply just going to round that up. We can see that that just cares away, and it's $1,597. 17. A. Write 30 as a product of its prime numbers. Okay, well, we know that 30 is 3 times 10. That's a good starting point. And we know that 10 is 2 times 5. 3, 2, and 5. These are all prime numbers, so it's 3 times 2 times 5. B. Find the lowest common multiple of 30 and 45. So all I did here is I just wrote out all of the multiplications. So 30 times 1 is 30, times 2 is 60, times 3 is 90. 45 times 1 is 45, times 2 is 90. Oh, okay, well, there we go. Here's our lowest common multiple, 90. Okay, number 18. Solve the simultaneous equations. You must show all your working. So, simultaneous equations, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to add or subtract these two equations to cancel out one of the terms. So I'm just going to label them A and B. So this is A, this is B. So I want to be able to get rid of the y's first of all. So in order to make 5y a 2, I'm going to times the whole equation by 2 over 5. This goes to 1.2x minus 2y equals 6.96. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to bring a in, we're going to plus a, so that we can cancel these two y's out. So we plus them all together, becomes 6.2x equals 4.96. And we just simply take this onto the other side, divide it, and x equals 0.8. Okay, great. Same thing again now. On the other side, we want to find x. So what we want to do is, again, we want to change 3y into a 5x so that we can subtract these equations. So what I'm going to do is times the whole of b by 5 over 3. That gives us 5x minus 25 over 3y equals 29. So we're going to minus equation A. So that means that these cancel out. It just becomes 25 over 3y minus 2y equals 31. That all totals up to minus 31 over 3y equals 31. Well, we can see that there's two 31s. That's quite nice. So we're going to take the 3 over there. Minus 31, y equals 93. Therefore, minus y equals 3. So y equals minus 3. Just take that minus over to the other side. And there we go. Okay, question 19. Triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF. Okay, good. So calculate the value of x. Here is x. First thing we want to do is find the scale factor. So these triangles are very similar. Simply, they've just been times by something or multiplied by something to make each other. So we need to find the scale factor. I'm going to call the scale factor A for ease. So we know, let's find that out. We know these two lines. So 8 and 6. How did 6 become 8 and 8 become 6? Well, let's say 8 times the scale factor A. So 8 times A equals 6. So A equals 6 over 8. So that's our scale factor. So all we do now, x equals 10 times 6 over 8 times the scale factor, 7.5. Simple. Now, to go the opposite direction, which is what they want us to do in B, they want us to find y. The opposite direction, because we're going from this to this, and now we're going from this to this, we're going to divide by the scale factor. So 9 divided by 6 over 8, I'm just going to swap them around, becomes times. 9 times 8 over 6 equals 12. Therefore, y equals 12 centimeters. Okay, question 20, factorize completely. Okay, so straight away, common factors is what we need to find. We can see there's a common factor of y. We can see there's a common factor of 2x. So we're going to take them together. We're going to take them out. So these two terms become y, and we're going to put p plus t in brackets. And these two become 2x, the common factor, and p plus t in the brackets. So as you can hopefully remember from factorizing, what we do then is we take the two common factors and put them in a bracket, and we take the bracket and have that as just one bracket. And there we have it. That's the simplified version of the factorization. Y plus 2x, p plus t. B is a little bit more complicated, but again, first thing we're going to do is find the common factors. You can see there's a common factor here of h plus k. Okay, it's not necessarily one letter or one number, but that is the common factor here. So we're going to take that out, and we're going to times, see what we have to do to create this. So we're out there. We can see that there's a squared here. So that we've just taken away that square. So that becomes 7 times the bracket h plus k. Minus 21, because that's the only thing that 21 was timesing to, h plus k. And then we can also see here that these two numbers are similar. So what we can do is just get rid of that, and then we can see that we can times 3 by 7 to make 21. So this is the simplified version, h plus k 7, h plus k minus 3. However, it's just a little bit more nice to say 7 at the front and write the brackets next to each other. Okay, question 21 is about volume. So here's a toy. It's a cone on top of a hemisphere. So calculate the volume of the toy to the nearest cubic centimeter. So they've been nice enough to give you the formula for the volume of a cone and for a volume of a sphere. Now, first things first, this is a hemisphere. Hemisphere is half a sphere. So we're going to take this and use it, but we are going to divide it by 2 or times it by a half. Same thing. So first of all, what we need to do is find the volume of a cone. Okay, so here's the equation. It's half pi times the radius, which is 4 squared, times the height of 9, and that equals 150.796. Type it into your calculator, and then we're going to find the volume of the hemisphere, which, here we go, 4 over 3 pi times the radius, which is also 4 to the power of 3. And as we said, it's half a sphere, so we're going to divide everything by 2, and we put that into the calculator, and it becomes 134.04. So what we're going to do there is add both of these up to get the total volume, and that is 248.8. And they want it to the nearest cubic centimetre, so we just see that we can round that up. It becomes 285. Okay, 22, matrix, multiply matrix. Okay, so, right, we've got our matrix A, matrix B, and what I'm going to do here is, this is a nice little trick, is the reason I've done this is because what we're going to do is this is going to become vertical and this will become horizontal. So put A here and B here. To times them, to multiply matrices, it's basically, I've labeled, if we look here, we've got horizontal number 1, horizontal number 2, vertical number 1, vertical number 2. To get the new vector number that will go here, what we're going to do is h1 times v1 plus h2 times v2. Okay? Same again here. h1 times v3, h2 times v4. Plus them together, that creates this new number here. So what I've done is here over here, this is just an enlarged version of this bracket here, which is going to be our new vector. So 3 times minus 2, h1 times v1, 7 times 4, h2 times v2, plus them together. So that's minus 6 and 28, plus them together at the end. Next up, let's do this number here. Well, okay, this is h1 times v3, which is 3 times 1. And then h2 times v4, 7 times 2. That is 3 and 14. Next, h3 times v1, minus 1 times minus 2. And h4 times v2, 4 times 4. And same again here, h3 times v3, 4 minus 1, minus 1, and 4, which is h4 times v4, it's number 4 times 2. So minus 1 minus 2, 2, 16, minus 1 times 1 is minus 1, 4 times 2 is 8, plus them together, there, then we get 22, 17, 18, and 7. And we just write that out as a matrix, and that is the answer. Calculate the inverse of matrix 5, 6, 3, 4. Okay, so first things first, A, B, C, D is how I'm going to label these. Now, the rule of inversing a matrix, number 1, swap A and D. Number 2, make B and C negative, and we get this. Number 3, to inverse it, we have to times it by 1 over the determinant. So, third step, find the determinant. This is the formula, AD minus BC. AD is 5 times 4, which is 20. BC is 6 times 3, which is 18. Therefore, the determinant is 2. And because we're finding the inverse, it's 1 over the discriminant, so 1 over 2. And then it's our new vector. So D, which is 4, minus B, minus 3, minus C minus 4, and A 5. There we are. Okay. Question 23. A. Find, here's f of x, the function. Find f6. So all we do for this one is we sub in 6 into the function. So it becomes 5 minus 3 times 6. 5 minus 18, which is 13. Okay, find f x plus 2. Okay, so what we're going to do is this is our value to sub into the function. So it becomes 5 minus 3 times x plus 2, which is what they want us. So we're going to plug that all in, times 3 by this, get 3x minus 6. Just simplify that, get rid of those numbers, 3x minus 1. See, a little bit more tricky. It's sort of basically f into f. So when you have this double f here, it basically wants f of x into f. So f of x is 5 minus 3x. So we're going to put f into f. So 5 minus 3 times f of x, 5 minus 3x. Times that all out, we get 5 minus 15 plus 9. And then we can just do that. And it becomes 9x minus 10. And finally, question number, or letter D. Find the inverse of f of x. Okay, so when we're finding the inverse, what we can do is we can say, okay, well, y equals the function, f minus 3x. Now, make x the subject. So what we're going to do is move over the x onto this side, makes it nice and positive. Y plus 3x equals 3. Then we take the y over there. 3x equals 5 minus y. So x equals 5 minus y over 3. Great. Now, all we do is swap x back into the equation. So instead of, because we don't want this y involved, all we do is just swap x for y. Oh, sorry, swap y for x. So we put x back into the equation. And so the inverse becomes 5 minus x over 3. And that is the final question. Hopefully that all made sense. If it doesn't, please comment below any questions, and good luck with your exams.